Well, welcome along to the Timeform Sporting Life Weekend Preview. David Orr, joined by Ben Linfoot and Matt Brocklebank, to look ahead to one big race. It's the Virgin Bet December Gold Cup at Cheltenham. It's the second of the big 2.5 mile handicap chases of the autumn there. Let's get the ratings up, the Timeform ratings for the 150 at Cheltenham. Top of the shop, so Scottish, 176 for Emmett Mullins, 175 Thunder Rock, the anti-post favourite, a pound below, 174 Monmiral, the choice of Harry Cobden from the Paul Nicholls team, and then it's down to 172 and below the rest. Matt, so Scottish, if I could say it, is the top rated. He's also a fascinating runner. So
solid crew. He is, Dave, yes. He's only a 6-year-old, believe it or not. He's representing JP McManus and Emmett Mullins. Emmett, I mean, everything he sends over to Britain, and obviously runs in Ireland as well, has to be respected. He's in good form. He's had Corbett's Cross won recently as well. In terms of Britain, he's won the Cesarovich this year on the flat. He's won the big handicap hurdle at Haydock over 3 miles. And so Scottish is the next cab off the rank. And he comes over here with a very good racing weight. Gets into this off a very handy looking racing weight with obviously Fakir up at the top in the same silks. Now, he is top of the ratings, and he's got basically that's around a strong piece of handicap form at Ascot last year when he was second to Boot Hill as a very young, inexperienced horse. He went there and his handicap debut after winning at Carlisle and Tipperary on his first 2 starts of offences. So he was given a fairly sharp baptism of fire that season. He didn't really kick on after that, but on the back of a fairly pleasing comeback run at Gowran, he was quite well held, but it was a quietish comeback run. He comes here for kind of his big day in the sun, I think, and it's not a surprise to see him towards the head of the betting.
Let's talk about JP's other one, Scoop. Fascinating one at the top of the weights, Fakir for Joseph O'Brien. They come in here, they wanted to try the intermediate trip. It fits in nicely with their programme for the rest of the season. Handicap has gone for 162. His form's all in Grade 1, Grade 2 contests in recent years. We've got video footage of Aintree last season, chasing home Peak Dory. What are you expecting from Fakir in a handicap?
Well, I'm expecting a good performance, and I think it would be dangerous to assume he's just in there to keep the weight down for owner mate.
I didn't say
Scottish. You didn't say that, but people will be thinking that, and rightly so. But Fakir, here he was obviously in the white cap, JP McManus running on for second behind Pete Dory, who came out and won the other day at Ascot when Shishkin refused to race. We know Fakir is a really solid yardstick at Grade 1 level. He's won 3 Grade 1s throughout his career. He's been second many times like he was here. Crucially, on his seasonal reappearance, he has got a really good record, never been out of the first 2 on his seasonal reappearance, and that includes Grade 1 and Grade 2 company. Won the Clonmel Oil Chase once on his seasonal reappearance. So a mark of 162. Look, he's been rated higher in the past. He's been a 167 horse. I think he's got a good chance. I think he's got a very good chance of running well and hitting the frame.
Cheltenham form's 1-2-2, isn't it? Those 2s are Ryanair and an Arkle, so it's...
Exactly, yeah.
That sort of horse you'd love to see on top of a handicap. Matt, let's talk about the favourite as we record. Friday afternoon, Thunder Rock is favourite. Ollie Murphy was on Get Stuck In this week discussing his chances. A lot of his position in the market is down to this run we're going to see at Carlisle. The Mile of Mission, the horse leading him there. Thunder Rock, talk us through him and talk through his chances in this big race.
Yeah, Ollie Murphy sounds really positive, and he's obviously had a nice winner at Cheltenham on Friday as well, so going into it in really good form. And Thunder Rock looks, on paper, fairly bomb-proof. Obviously, there's the fairly short price now that we're looking at, but the only other box that he can't tick is that strong Cheltenham form, as you talked about with Fakir, because he's been there twice and he hasn't really shone. In fact, all 3 of his chase wins have come on right-handed tracks that Uttoxeter and Ascot, and obviously here at Carlisle where we saw him, he was just proved a little bit too quick for Mile of Mission on
Which you'd expect him to be fair, wouldn't you?
Absolutely, yeah. The form over 2.5 miles, because if you go back to last year in the spring, he was just outstayed by That's All Right Gino. So when you talk about Mile of Mission and That's All Right Gino, obviously the first and second in the Coral Gold Cup recently, he's on a good mark. Like I say, the stable's in really good form, and it was a really stylish comeback run. So yeah, lots to like about him, but as I say, just Cheltenham and going back left-handed, potential negatives for Thunder Rock.
Paddy Power Gold Cup, it was the big race, the November meter. We've got the footage. It's a different course to this one. There's 2 big plays who'll come out of it, Il Ridoto and Fugitif. How do you see these 2 running?
Yeah, you'll see Fugitif there in the big white cheek pieces in the white cap, and Il Ridoto in the pink next to him. Il Ridoto stays on the better from this point up the hill to beat Fugitif this day, and I would expect him to uphold this form. but there's a few key things from before that video started that we need to address, because Fugitif in the first time cheap pieces was lit up by the headgear. It worked too well, really. He was far too keen in the early stages. They've been whipped off. No cheap pieces. So if he settles better, he's got a chance of reversing that form.
Down £2 as well?
Yeah. And Il Ridoto, he looked to me that day like he'd come on for the run. And we know that his new course form, new course on Saturday, is excellent. He won on Trials Day, the handicap in January. I think he's still only £5 higher than that performance when he won. And so, again, he's another with a chance. So you look at that Paddy Power race and those two that come out of it, and I think both of them are going to be solid contenders to run the race. But I just feel that there's probably one or two better handicapped horses than those two in this field.
I disagree. I think Fugitif will reverse form. Pound bet off, I don't think it's the day. I think the cheap piece is coming off. And
that's the headgear switch could be key with him.
I love the way he went through that way. He travelled like he was still potentially competitive off the sort of mark he's on now. Matt, Il Ridoto, Bryony Frost, Harry Cobden on Monmiral, Paul Nicholls earlier in the week. This is a grade 1 horse in the handicap, very bullish about Monmiral. Your sense from what they're seeing at home, this is very much the ditch at number 1.
Yeah, definitely, and don't forget Nicholls has won this race more than any other trainer. Personally, I like Il Ridoto of the two, and even of the two Nicholls horses, but Cobden prefers this one. Monmiral, he's got that element of class, that obviously grade 1 winner from his juvenile days at Aintree. He returns here. Looks significant, doesn't it, that Nicholls is willing to roll the dice in this race that he knows so well off this mark. He must be considered fairly well handicapped. You go back, he was second to the Real Whacker in the Dipper. That form reads really well. He's definitely still got potential. I just wonder if this race, first time back, he just lacks that Cheltenham course experience. And on one hand, that obviously means that he's unexposed to this sort of race and could well be sneaking in off a good mark. And if it all clicks, he's handicapped to run really well. I just quite like the course experience around the new course, and for that reason I do like Il Ridoto. I think he can jump a fair bit better than he did the last day under Freddie Gingell, and he was also hampered slightly coming into the top of the home straight just by an unexpected party there. So if he got a clear run, and I could see Bryony Frost actually being really quite forward on Il Ridoto. I wonder if the time form are predicting, we're going to get to the pace, aren't we? Time form are predicting.
Producer Nick Cove will put the pace map on the screen. It's
it's
a lovely segue into
strong, isn't it? It's predicted to be strong, but I personally don't think it's going to be too hot in this race, and hopefully, from my point of view, Bryony Frost is going to look to get a forward pitch down on the inside on Il Ridoto, and I think he might be able to sort of pop away towards the front end.
That's the pace map, Scoop. What's going to be suitable about how this is going to be run?
Yeah, I'd agree with Matt. I think Il Ridoto will be ridden more forward than that pace map is suggesting. He certainly was on Trials Day when he won, but there's a bit of a competition for the lead there. You can see Do Your Job, who's quite an interesting outsider off a lightweight. He's had 4 wind-ups and obviously had his problems, but the handicap has given him a chance, and I can see him bowling along quite nicely in a forward position. And I don't think Frero Bamboo will be far away from the pace either, and he would be my selection in the race. I think he's got a really good chance, and the way this could pan out, if he gets into a rhythm from a forward position, I think he's handicapped to have a big say, because last time at Newbury he looked like he was going to absolutely dot up until he smashed through the final fence, and that really halted his momentum. He ended up finishing second, but that was good evidence to me that this horse is on a good mark over an intermediate trip. Most of his racing's been over 2 miles, including in races like the Grand Annual at the Cheltenham Festival, but 2.5 off his current mark. I think he's a massive player.
Ben's selection there. Matt, one who was going to go for the Alan King horse who won at Wetherby. I mean, it was a spectacular round of jumping. I think £3 wrong in the weights, but I think he's potentially a bold show from the front. That's my theory. Matt, your selection for the race?
Yeah, that's Grandeur Dame. He's £8, and he does actually have to run out of the weights for this. Torn and Fraser is another one running from slightly out of the handicap. I'd still give him a chance. I just wonder if he might be better on better ground. They might look towards that race in the new year again for him. I am going to back Il Ridoto. I think he's a very fair price, around 8-1 if we can get that. And I'm with Do Your Job as well. I'm going to split my stakes. I'm absolutely convinced Lucinda Russell's going to get the best out of this horse at some stage. I know he's 9 now, but he's not completely exposed as a chaser. And he's one of these, all last season we seem to be talking about kind of more experienced handicap chaser who'd been running a couple of times and given a real good chance by the British handicapper. And it's just not really raised its head, that issue, this time around. But I do think Do Your Job is a prime example. and he ran in the Old Rowan Chase. Bit of a farce of a race. The omitted fences. Dachshund Gino has come out of that race to frank it. And do your job. If you go back to last year's Old Rowan, he went off 5-2 favourite off a £10 higher mark. You know, he beat Il Ridoto as a novice. He's got the
clearly had his problems, hasn't he?
He's got issues.
We all have, haven't we, Scott?
We have, yeah.
he's dead interested in it.
At the price, I think I'm willing to risk him. Yeah, it comes with risks, but he's a big price. 2
for Do Your Job. Well, 1.5 for Do Your Job. Matt's other half on Il Ridoto. Do Your Job, Ben, and bet from elsewhere.
Yes, I'm going to go earlier on the card at Cheltenham, the 1:15, the 2 mile handicap chase, and I'm going to give another chance to Orkin Risk of Chris Gordon's. Now, Chris Gordon's yard isn't absolutely firing, and that's just the one little negative I have around this horse. But I backed him at Ascot last time, and I thought he was a bit unlucky. And after the first fence, they came to the opening turn, and he was in second position. He just got chopped off in his run, ended up being shuffled back to about 6th, and he just never got in a rhythm that day. But I really liked, actually, how he finished his race after the last to close up on the front 4. And it just said to me that the engine's still there with this horse if he gets into a rhythm on the front end. And I think he might do under X Dingle on Saturday. He's been dropped a couple of pounds by the handicapper, so he's only £4 higher than when he won the Betfair Hurdle. I know we're talking hurdles and chase marks, but that's just an indication of how well treated this horse could be over fences. He's still only had 4 chase runs and pretty unexposed, and hopefully this can be his day on Saturday.
Matt, one more for you?
One more, yeah. We've all been caught 12.40 at Cheltenham in the novices handicap chase. They've always had quite a high opinion of this horse. Interesting to see Mikey O'Sullivan still able to claim £3, Mikey O'Sullivan. Yeah, he's coming over to ride one horse on Saturday, and I think we should all bet we've all been caught.
We've all been caught to get the day off to a flyer there for Matt. Thanks for Matt and Ben for their thoughts ahead of Saturday's action at Cheltenham, and good luck with your own wages over the weekend.